to Spark TV.
Thank you so much, Danielle. It is great to be here.
I am so glad. We've just had a quick therapy session, quick business therapy session. So you never know how this one's going to turn out. I love it. Let's kick things off by telling everyone who you are and what you do.
Yeah, sure. So I am Kylie Pinwill. My background is as clinical nutritionist, and I work with women who own their own businesses and professional women who are going through the roller coaster of perimenopause and menopause. And that can hit us in so many ways. So energy levels and our ability to focus and concentrate, and not to mention what's going on with our weight and and sleep and all the other things. So I work with women sort of in that space so they can, just clear that brain fog, get their energy back, so we can get back to doing what we're good at.
I love it. And I'm very triggered right now. So,
It's been a day, I think.
oh my God, I know. Tell me about it. I love it. So, how did you get into this?
Yeah, so I have
What's
always
your background?
so I've always been in health and fitness in one form or another. So even when I was at uni back in the 90s, showing my age here, I was teaching Les Mills aerobics. Um,
Oh, cool.
so I can do a grapevine.
Me too. That's taking me back to dancing days.
I know. And then I went in corporate for a while after I finished uni, had kids, and then I was sort of like, oh, I didn't really want to go back to corporate. What should I do? So always loved food, nutrition. So went back, studied, became a nutritionist, and then was sort of working. And then I noticed that a lot of my clients were reflecting back to me how I was feeling, and they're like, oh, I don't know what's going on. I'm so tired. I'm putting on weight. I'm not sleeping at night. And like, I'm just sitting there. And I remember one particular lady or client that was sitting there. I was just like, oh my God, that's how I feel too. And then I sort of realized, and along the way, I'd had half my thyroid taken out. So I'd always kind of like done that dance with my metabolism, and love food. So I think I was a Labrador in a previous life.
Me too. I definitely blame that.
So I was always sort of like trying to put a healthier twist on, like all the yummy things. So
Mm.
so I kind of, was like, what's going on? So I'd always done that dance with my thyroid and my metabolism, but this was something else. And, when I sort of looked into it and the further I went down the rabbit hole, because I was in my early 40s at that point, and I realized that it was perimenopause. And I was just like, and that in itself was a shock to me. I was like, what? I'm not old enough for this. No way. And it turns out I was. but there was so much, like even as a practicing health practitioner, that I didn't know about perimenopause and how it, like how it impacted my family, because I would go from 0 to 100 and like bite everybody's head off, and then turn around and go, what? I don't know what
Everything's fine. I don't know what you're talking about.
and then it was, with, trying to work and trying to run a business. And like, I just had this crippling brain fog
Mm.
and, like definitely sort of elements of burnout. And the more I sort of like looked into it, the more I realized that, our hormones actually impact, pretty much every part of our life. And stress is one of the biggest triggers for our hormones, and that can exacerbate everything. So it was sort of, I guess my own, as it is quite often the case when you work in health or beauty or fitness or anything like that. It's your own journey that sort of takes you down a particular path. And then I was in Sydney, and I was, working in a busy clinic, and then we moved to Queensland, and beautiful Sunshine Coast, and I was in a clinic, and I was waiting for my clients to arrive in my clinic, and they didn't, because it's a big country town up here. It's a bit quieter, and so I realized that I had to take my business online. So really did a total turnaround. So I went from being sort of like a clinician to like an online course creator, I guess, and all the digital things that come with that.
I love that. And it's so cool as well. I mean, I think of myself. So I moved regionally a couple of years ago, and I just am so grateful that things are online now, that you can literally access anything,
Yeah.
as niche as it might be, from anywhere. I think that that is so amazing for the consumer that we can do that now.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the beauty of it. I get to work with, beautiful women sort of all around the world now. So which is pretty cool.
Did you have any challenges moving from in real life to online?
Yeah.
Like, no, it was a breeze. It was fine.
Behind, 6 figure,
Yeah. Oh my God. Doing it again.
Yeah, there were quite significant challenges, but I think I was lucky that I did have, I was lucky enough at the time to find the right coaches at the right time.
Yes.
So I definitely invested in, like I spent 5 minutes trying to figure it out on my own and then was
Yeah.
like, so then, yeah, was really lucky that I found just the right people,
Mm,
right coaches, at the right time to sort of like take my business to, get my platform set up, get my
mm.
email marketing and automation set up, get my membership set up, and then I had another coach who was like, okay, well, now we need to get you out there. You can't just have a beautiful course sitting on your website, no one's going to find it. So then
Yes.
it was the social media side and the marketing side. So yeah, I think what I do now is probably this much nutrition and this much online. But they've been great skills that I've really loved at times, hated at times, but overall I've kind of embraced it and gone, you know what, this is actually pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So going back to perimenopause, menopause, how would one know if they might? Because I was really just listening to you and I was thinking, you said the word burnout, you said the word nutrition, you said perimenopause. How would one know or one get a sense of knowing as to whether they were going through any of those things?
Yeah. So that's a really good question. So first up, like perimenopause is sort of like the 2 to 10 years before we actually go through menopause. So we sort of work backwards from there. So the average age in Australia of menopause is 51. And, so menopause is when you haven't had a period for a year. That's where you're officially in menopause. And then I guess you have your 1 year anniversary of your last period, you go, hoo-hoo, and then you post
Like,
menopause.
wow, I'm in
Yeah,
menopause. It's fantastic.
yeah, yeah.
Celebrate.
So then, but the process can be sort of like over, like really gradual over 10 years. So just like when we, go through puberty, we don't just wake up one day and we've got boobs in our period, like
Mm,
it happens over a few years. And if we think of perimenopause as reverse puberty,
mm,
so things are winding down. So what sort of tends to sort of happen in the early days? So it can happen for some women in their mid-30s, sort of any time, and it can be subtle or it can be full on. So what we tend to notice first is, the fatigue is a big one. Mood swings, not sleeping at night, and putting on weight. So they're probably the common things that people, or the obvious things that women start to notice. Is they're like, "Oh, hang on a second, where's this coming from? And the weight.
I've been attributing this to the pizza and the wine
Yeah,
and the stressful businesses,
yeah.
but you never know.
That's it. Like, and it can be that as well. So that's it. It also comes at a busy time of life. So for
Mm,
those of us who are running businesses, or, if you're in a professional career, you're at sort of like the top of your game. So,
mm,
so you've got work pressures or business pressures, you've got, kids who are getting older, but, turns out it doesn't matter how old your kids are, they still need you. So you've got kids that need you. Your parents are getting older, so your relationship with your parents, like that dynamic is changing. Um,
mm,
and then, heaven forbid, we still want to exercise and have a social life as well. So we tend to, and I think as women, particularly as business owners, we're really capable women, right? We can do a lot. So we tend to just sort of step up and we push through and we keep going and we do a bit more and we take it all on. We say yes to all the things because we also happen to be people pleasers. So we want to make sure that everyone else is okay, is everyone looked after, but we don't sort of pay much attention to us and what's going on with us. And often, we hit that wall. It can be sort of to the point of burnout. Some women are better and might tune in a bit quicker. So it's the subtle little things. Other women might notice like changes to their cycles. So their cycle might be get heavier and closer together, or even lighter and further apart. So, it's again, just like, puberty, pregnancy, childbirth, like it's going to be different for all of us.
Yeah. And do you suggest perhaps, because I guess what as I'm listening, I'm thinking about it personally and I think, oh yeah, ticking all of those boxes, but also I know that I don't have healthy habits, so it could be attributed to that as well. Is there sort of a process that you ask people to go through in terms of, I guess, being a little self-reflective on the way you're
Yeah,
living your life and what it could
yeah.
be and eliminating things to try and figure it out?
Yeah, 100%. And I always, so the first point of call for a lot of women is, like if they're not attributing it to lifestyle, they'll go to their doctor and, ask for a blood test. So this is where the blood tests come back, the results are normal and, they're dismissed that, oh, you're too young for menopause, or, because a lot of doctors aren't thinking about perimenopause, because there's nothing, it's not actually a diagnosable condition. So we're not sick and there's nothing wrong with us.
Yeah.
But these subtle changes are kind of going on in the background. So definitely, yeah, it's time to kind of pay attention, put our big girl pants on and go, you know what, I actually need to start looking after myself.
I think every woman in the world needs to be told that. Start looking after yourself. Start prioritizing you.
Yeah, absolutely. And, like I said, we're good at doing it for everybody else. We're not so good at taking care of ourselves.
Yeah, I love that. How do you see this impacting women in business?
Yeah, it's huge. And I, talk to, I have a lot of conversations with women and, like it shows up as brain fog and like they know what they want to get done, or, they're just so tired that they can't kind of concentrate. And then they go down the rabbit hole of like just scrolling through Instagram or, like they're not focused on what should be. Or I've also seen it show up in, the way they treat or the way they, interact with their team, the way they interact. Yeah, when one woman said to me, she said, I'm going to lose it with some of my clients. And I think we all have challenging clients, but she was
Yeah.
like, I really need to, zip it because like I'm really struggling with this. And I think at some point too, our BS monitor lowers a little bit and we become a little less tolerant. And it's like,
Yeah.
but like definitely that's something I've noticed as well. So I really gotta sometimes, but often with the women that I work with, we can laugh about that too, because it's sort of like, yeah, like, just like we got on to this call today, I vented like, this is my morning this morning. And then we
Oh,
laughed.
you need that though, I think,
Yeah.
especially as a woman in business, when you can't do that to your team or your clients, you like need other people to go, oh my God, am I losing my mind or is this real life?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I often hear women sort of describe it as going from like 0 to 100, over something trivial that would never have bothered them before, but all of a
Yes.
sudden it's flying off the handle. So it's, I think, important to remember that, that hormonal shift, and you think of it, we get big surges, big drops. So it's like a roller coaster. So, but that can, impact us physically, mentally, and emotionally as well. So some women, it shows up as, like they're crying at the drop of the hat. Other women are just angry and ragey. Other women are just, face first down in a packet of chips and a bottle of wine. So it's, it does,
Man,
it does
you're
show up.
really calling me out today.
No judgment whatsoever.
No, it's just really interesting because I do, as a woman in business, I've been in business for 10 years and it's really interesting. I feel like now more and more people talk about what women go through physically. I've heard so much in the last couple of years, even about tracking your cycle and where you're at as to, where you should factor in different tasks. I know a friend of mine who's a woman in business, she only schedules filming days, so where she's got to be high energy for a certain time in her cycle. And
Yes.
I think I logically know, like when I've got my period, I don't want to get out of bed in the morning, like I know that, but I never factor my calendar around it. I just wake
Yeah.
up and go, oh, great, I've got a day of this crap that I've got to get through.
And that's it. And that's where we push through. And that's
Mm,
where, your energy is lower. So,
yeah.
it's really like cycle tracking and things like that is really interesting because, yeah, like it does impact how we show up. But I think we're also very good and we're very clever at masking. We're very clever at,
Oh, yeah.
we just push through, we do what needs to get done. And I think that's all well and good, but there's a way we can do it that's easier, that's not so draining on our energy as well.
Totally. And I think that's, I literally, yeah, as I listen to all of the information, consume the podcast, reflect on my own energy and how I'm showing up in business, I think to myself, yes, I really should do a few things to support myself and look after
Mm.
myself and be a better business owner. What
Yeah.
are some of the things that you would suggest if someone has kind of gone, okay, fairly certain that this is the time of life I am in? Are there things that you would start telling them to factor into their life to help ease things?
Definitely, when it comes to, even if we just sort of focus on energy, because I think that's a
Mm,
big one. So if you've got energy, you've got everything. You know,
yeah.
you're a bit clearer in the head. You
That's so true. That's like the truest statement I've ever heard. If you've got energy, you've got everything.
yeah.
Oh, I love that. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, that's okay. So if we're sort of looking at, like how we conserve our energy, it's sort of, have we got good boundaries in place, like in terms of, like how we manage our calendar, how if, we're feeling tired and we can't take, 6 back-to-back clients or 8 or 12 back-to-back clients, in a day, can we reduce it? Can we do it in blocks so we give ourselves a break? Are we nourishing ourselves properly? So are we, or are we going for foods that are going to spike our blood sugar up and keep us come crashing down? So we need to make sure that we are paying attention to what we eat. So we're, lots of beautiful protein and healthy fats and, good forms of fiber. So lots of plants, fruit, brown rice, quinoa, all of those, whole foods. You
Mm.
know what healthy eating looks like, right?
Yeah, totally. It's one of the health eating's one of those things where it's like you don't need to like
Yeah,
research this. You don't need to take a course. You don't need advice. You know what to
we all
do.
know,
Stop
we all know what
avoiding
to do.
it.
So,
Yeah.
nourish yourself properly.
Mm, I
Make
love
sure
that.
make sure you're drinking enough water because it's again, yeah. I sent mine flying before, so mine is now in a massive puddle all over the floor.
Oh no.
That was another thing.
That's just pointing. Yeah, that's just topping off the morning.
Another
I love that.
But,
Of course.
the dog was happy, and I'm kind of thinking, well, maybe that counts as the dog mopping the floor. Who knows?
Perfect.
But today, that counts.
Yeah.
Um, or that we're drinking enough water because often, like that brain fog, like even if we're
Mm,
just a little bit dehydrated, that can impact brain fog.
mm,
Are we, moving our body in a way that feels good? So, and I'm very big on movement, not as opposed to exercise, because I guilty, you know, have always, from the Les Mill days, go hard or go home. Like that was
yeah.
sort of the way what was instilled in me for exercising. So, loved F45, loved those high intensity sort of workouts. But, I would do that, get up at 5 in the morning, go off and do that, come home. And by lunchtime, I needed a nap. So
Yeah.
it was, and then the second I gave that up and switched it out for Pilates, all of a
Mm,
sudden, like it wasn't putting my body under more stress.
yeah.
So yeah, so finding an exercise or a movement way of moving that feels good for you. Like if that sort of high intensity stuff works for you and you feel great all day afterwards,
Mm,
awesome. It's amazing. But if it doesn't, if it knocks you around, choose something that's gentler and more restorative. So, even if it's walking or swimming or Pilates or yoga,
mm.
they're much more beneficial for our adrenals, our stress response. Then eat. is another one because it's amazing. So we wouldn't, jump in the car and go, you know what, I'm going to drive from Sydney to Perth, but I'm not putting any petrol in until we get to Alice Springs.
Yes.
Like our car, we wouldn't expect our car to run on empty. And
Mm.
yet we're quite okay, expecting ourselves to run on empty. So if you are low in energy, eat breakfast, please. Please, for the love of all things.
Yeah.
It's
It
within.
always surprises me when people like do that. My husband does this. He's like, "Oh, I didn't get to eat today. I'm starving." I was like, "What do you mean you didn't eat today? I work from home, so I've eaten 17 times today." I have
I
the
know.
reverse problem.
Yeah, exactly. I know. And I'm the same. I have clients who forget to eat, and I'm like, I don't even understand what that means. It's the Labrador.
Yeah, totally.
But if you're low in energy, you need to be fueling your body. So this
Yeah.
is where, again, having breakfast within 30 to 60 minutes of waking can make a huge difference in your energy levels later on in the day. Because I see women, who will get up, they'll have a cup of coffee. And if we think our cortisol levels are already naturally higher in the morning, and it's meant to be that way. So that's what gets us up and gets us going for the morning. Now, if
Mm.
our cortisol levels are already high and we're just putting coffee on top of that, we're sort of adding fuel to the fire. So we're spiking our cortisol levels where, we're not hungry anymore because we just had that coffee. So we're running on empty until sort of 11, 12 in the morning. And then we might eat. And then this is where things start to go south. And this is where women eat all afternoon, or
Mm.
they haven't eaten much all day. They have dinner and then they're snacking all night. So they're going to bed with like blood sugar through the roof because they've just knocked off a block of chocolate or a packet of biscuits. And this is where it becomes really tricky in that sort of weight gain cycle. And that's a really key habit to break is, having breakfast before coffee, and then stopping eating after dinner.
I love it. I love it. And it's awesome because it's practical. Like everything you just went through is not, I need to spend $10,000 on a guru to change my life. It's all things that we can all literally jump on and start making those small tweaks to feel better today.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the thing. It's really not rocket science, but it's just paying attention to actually what's happening and where we can make some positive changes.
I love that so much. So let's switch gears to your business. How did you find going from, yeah, sort of, I guess that employee mindset originally to then starting your own business? I mean, I know you've been in business for yourself for quite a while now, but what was that transition like for you in the early days?
Uh, it was probably I had a lot more enthusiasm for it in the early days than I maybe do now.
We all did, yes.
I was going to make $1 million and, work by the beach and, I
Totally. For like
really
2 days a week.
2 days a week and, when I felt like it,
Yeah.
basically, my dream. And that was very exciting.
It's still my dream, okay?
Oh, I need to regain my dream. So anyway, that dream got buried along the way. So it was a really big learning curve, and I had no idea about cash flow and 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 I think one thing I would do differently is I would have kept my full-time job
Yeah.
and started my business as a side hustle and actually got my business making money before I went in. Because when I think of like the lost years of income, of superannuation, of no holiday pay, of no sick pay, all of that, like it adds up. Like, and I did a financial seminar with another guy online a little while ago, and I actually felt sick, afterwards when I realized like the lost income,
Mm.
that I'll never get back. Well, hopefully I will get back because I'll be a millionaire very soon.
Yes,
But
I'm on board. I'm on board.
working 2 days a week on the beach. But
Exactly, yes.
it was just sort of like, okay, if I was to do it again, I would be a bit smarter about it.
Yeah.
Um,
Look, I completely agree with you because I know that there are different schools of thought, especially when it comes to inspirational Instagram quote tiles of people like going on about things. And I know some people like burn the bridges, go all in, blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, that extra. So the thing about money is that it just puts so much pressure on people.
yeah,
It's you can mindset yourself all you like, but bills need to be paid, right? So if,
absolutely.
if you can start your business with less financial pressure by keeping your job, that
Yeah.
doesn't make you not a success or not completely all in on your business. That just maybe makes the bridge a little bit easier.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, yeah, but I was completely naive and very optimistic at that point. So it was all going to be fine.
Totally. And it's one of those, it's funny looking in hindsight, right? All of the
Yeah.
things that we would do
Oh,
differently.
absolutely. Absolutely. But that was sort of a big one for me.
Mm,
And like I said before, like getting the right coaching. Uh,
yes.
and I think I was lucky back then because, there weren't as many online coaches who are with the pretty Instagram tiles who promise the world. So, and
Mm.
it's funny because I look now at some of the claims that they make and I'm like, it's a load of shit, like honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you just sort of think, yeah, that's
I think the biggest thing for me lately is making sure that I take advice from people who've actually done what I want to do. And
oh,
I mean, so it's almost for me, it's like, yes, you look at people in silos who they've got massive Instagram accounts or they've, a TikTok superstar or whatever, or a business coach. So when I look at a business coach now, I'm like, okay, you need to have achieved the goals through
yeah,
another business, not through your coaching business. Like you need
yeah,
real world practical experience. But
yeah,
then also I niche as well. So, okay, I just want to solve this problem. I'll find an expert in that thing, So it's sort of, yeah, I guess I'm trying to have an objective view on things now and go, okay, who's actually solved the problem for themselves and
yes.
done it and now is potentially teaching it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then also look at the other clients that they have as well.
Yeah.
It's sort of, what are their clients? Are their clients getting results?
Mm.
Mm, yeah. And
Yeah.
yeah, or even, not all of them would probably go along with this, but I think going into the coaching group and seeing like, are all the other people in the group, are they at your level or are they further
Yeah.
ahead or, where are they at? And yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting one too, isn't it? Because, I always have that mindset of I want to learn from people who are a little bit further ahead than me. I want to, not that you can't learn something from everybody. I'm totally on board with that. But I kind of think in terms of growth, I always want to be stretching myself and thinking, well, if they're operating at that level, what are they doing
yeah.
differently to me?
100%, 100%. And a big thing for me was getting out of my industry circle. So
Oh, yeah,
being
I love that.
yeah, being a natural health practitioner, we're taught in college that there's only one way, is that clinic model. So when I started going online, this was sort of early days of online. So I was sort of starting online, and then I had people sort of say, "Oh, you can't do that. Oh,
Mm,
your insurance doesn't cover that. Oh, because we're sort of bound by in a clinic situation, we're
mm,
bound by so we can't guarantee that, like I can't guarantee that we're going to work together and you're going to lose 10 kilos. Like
mm.
I can't make that guarantee because if you're going to eat chips every night, then, you know,
Yeah, of course.
so so it's very, I guess, regulated in
Mm,
environment. But then it's a different story when you go online and you're sort of more in the health coaching reel. And again, for people looking out for wellness products online, actually do your research to see, is that person qualified? Because there's a lot of people I came across one the other day. She wanted to be on my podcast and I looked at her qualification and I was like, that's not even a thing. And can I share what it was? It actually
please, why not?
a what was it called? A grey area drinking coach.
Gray area drinking coach.
Grey
What even is that?
I took that to mean that she wasn't an alcoholic, but she wasn't always sober.
So I fall into the grey area. Excellent.
And now we've got popcorn
I
and
love that. I don't know how that happened, but that was
I don't know how
fabulous.
that happened either. I've never had that before. I've had balloons and I've had
Yeah.
thumbs up, but I've never had fireworks before.
That is so good. I love it.
Grey area drinking coach. And I was like, what
It
the
is
hell?
funny though. It's like this good, it's a good thing and a bad thing in the sense that right now you can be anything you want to be, right? Like you can
Yeah,
design a life that
yeah.
you want and brr. But unfortunately, you can also be anything you want to be. So you can tell anyone any story about
This
yourself.
bag of awards, and it looked like she had made the awards up because she won the silver, the bronze, and the gold for this thing,
For the
all
same award.
the same award, all in one year. And I'm like, well, is she the only one? Or like it was just ridiculous.
Oh,
Whereas I've worked with some great, like sober coaches, for instance,
mm,
have life lived experience of that journey back from like a really
mm,
I guess not a great relationship with alcohol and how they've worked out of it, and now they're working with other people, but they're very clear on they are a sober coach, they're helping people get sober, whereas
yeah.
this area drinking, I was just like, it's not even a thing, like seriously. Anyway, no.
Oh my God. I love it so much. Okay, so we could talk all day, but let's wrap this amazing conversation on one last piece of advice. So I'd love you to reflect on your time in business.
Yep.
Would there be a piece of advice you would give another woman in business who is on her journey right now that may help her get through her challenges?
Yeah, absolutely. I think stay in your own lane.
Mm-hmm.
So know what your strengths are, know what your vision is, where you want to do, know who you want to help, and just go for it. Don't worry about what the other girls are doing and that coach over there is doing, because they will attract their people. And if you are true to I guess your mission and what you want to do and keep doing your thing, you will attract your people. So, and I'm a really big believer that there's enough clients for everyone as
Yes.
well. So we don't need to compete. We need to like support each other. And, it's like, hey, I don't think you're the client for me, but I've got, Danielle over here who can, help you out. And that's okay because yeah, what you give, you get as well. So
That is so, so true. There is always enough to go around. I absolutely
yeah,
love that. That's
yeah.
gorgeous. Thank you so much, Kylie. You
Oh,
are
pleasure.
incredible. Thank you for
Oh,
sharing
thank you. So are
in
you.
the community.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. And
Anytime.
thanks everyone for watching.